Time to check in with mayoral candidate Soraya Martinez Ferrada, who you may have seen the most recent polls. She's got 18%. This is a Leger poll, by the way, done with the Montreal Police Brotherhood. 18% for Soraya Martinez Ferrada. Luc Rabouin comes in at 15%. Craig Sauvé right now at 7%. Now, you'd think, yes, it's great to be number one, but have to point out that when most Montrealers were asked, this is about 45% of them were asked, they said their number one choice right now, only a couple of months away from this municipal election, is I don't know. And that can't be good for any candidate. Soraya, welcome back. I appreciate you taking the time.
My pleasure to be here again with you.
Very busy in your office from what I can hear in the background right now.
Yes, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Does it sound good?
No, that's fine. Let me ask you, first of all, as I said, hey, great, you're number one, but when you see a poll that shows most people don't seem to really kind of have a favorite in terms of who they really think is doing a better job, how does that translate into your campaign? What does it tell you?
Well, it tells us that we have to double the effort in terms of being present and meeting all Montrealers at the doors, calling them up, meeting them in every borough. I think, the survey was done in a period where people were on vacation. It's summer. I think now the campaign is more picking up. And as you know, as long as there's no signal on the street that there's a campaign going, people not really paying attention. So I understand the polls, but I think right now I'm very happy with the campaign we're doing. We're proposing a lot of things every time we go out, and and I think I'll double the effort, and I'm just looking forward to meeting all Montrealers in what I think would be a really good campaign in the next 54 days.
So I will point out, and we've talked about this on the show, and I've talked about this with a couple of our analysts here as well. I had Raphael Melançon in here the other week, who wrote today, by the way, and I think this is interesting, this whole idea of I don't know. He says the way the campaign shapes up right now, and I'm assuming he's talking about you versus Luc Rabouin, not so much Craig Sauvé here. He says it's a choice for Montrealers between, you've heard this before, tomato and tomato. In other words, there's not much difference here that people can sort of recognize. Is that a problem? Do you think that message hasn't gotten through? How are you different from Luc Rabouin, Projet Montréal?
Well, I think the idea is having an administration that actually listens to Montreal. People right now don't feel listened by this administration in the last few years. I mean, for example, Luc Rabouin announced that he was postponing the closure of Camellia Wood. I propose to shut it down completely. There's no project of closing down Camellia Wood. I'm going to keep it open. That's a very distinctive position between us and Projet Montréal. I've announced, flooding announcements, making sure that we are proposing not only to help citizens, but also to have an emergency fund that will help boroughs in terms of climate change emergency. So there's a lot of things that we are proposing that are a big difference with this administration, and I think it's our job and my job to make sure that citizens see that difference.
So I had you on the show a few weeks ago when you first announced and said, you know what, we're going to do an audit. That was the word, an audit of bike paths. And a lot of people have reacted to that by simply saying that doesn't really say anything. What's your position on that beyond conducting an audit? Will there be more? Are there too many? What are you trying to prove here?
So what I've said in the past is that a city like Montreal, being an international city, we need to follow the trend in terms of mobility. And we need to make sure that the mobility exists for all, for pedestrians, for cars, for bikes. What I said is that we need to do an audit to make sure that whatever investments that we do in the future, it has to be the right one at the right place in the right framework in terms of our city and the impact that it will have in our city. So what I said is making sure that if we're moving forward, we need to make sure that we're going to be doing the right investments, and that's not what this administration is doing. Everybody's doing whatever they want. There's no real connectivity. There's a lot to be done in terms of connectivity, and we have to be sure that the ones that are there are secure and that the impact on our local merchant, for instance, or pedestrians is taken care of, and we mitigate the impact on other users of our streets.
Well, I'm sure you've heard from some businesses that, they feel in their particular area that the bike paths do not help business and don't need to be there. So I guess my question is, Soraya, you finish your audit. Does that mean if you discover some bike paths are either never used or don't make sense, you get rid of them?
Well, you have to know as well as me is that that's been done with public money. And we have a responsibility to don't waste the money. If there's a bike path that's been done And we can mitigate the impact on merchants, for instance. If I can make sure that merchants can have the deliveries of their goods, because right now a lot of them can't, we have to find the best way to give that to the merchants. Now, am I going to undo a bicycle pass because we have invested so much money into doing them? Maybe there's other priorities that actually right now citizens are asking for, which is making sure the city is clean, making sure the city is secure, and making sure that we are addressing the issue of the housing crisis. So my idea of priorities is those priorities, because that's what people are talking to me about, making sure that we actively working on the homelessness issue and the crisis that we have in our hands, making sure that people feel safe in our city, and making sure that our streets are clean. And we need to make sure of those priorities that actually Montreal are asking me for.
So I'm not hearing an answer to that question. If you find a bike path that's not used, unnecessary, you're not going to shut it down? You will just leave it because it's already been put up?
Well, if there's no impact to the merchants, no impact in terms of what it's doing in that street, the question is, what do Montrealers want? Do they want me to invest money on doing something that's going to cost a lot of money, instead of saying, well, can we put the money somewhere else where it actually is needed? And I think the question is the right one. I'm not saying that we can't do it. I'm saying, is that the priority that we need? If there's an impact, direct impact to the merchants, to citizens, to pedestrians, to the fluidity of our city, we have to look at it and make a good project out of something that has been really wrong doing by Projet Montréal.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is that we have to be respectful of the public funding and the money of citizens, because this is their money.
Let me talk about something else that's actually been in the news the last couple of days. I know you've seen this as well. There was a survey, Montrealers saying they simply don't feel safe anymore. They talk about downtown specifically. We had an incident with Glenn Castanera, who's the head of the Downtown Merchants Association, assaulted or almost assaulted, threatened, I guess, with someone pulling a knife. What's your plan? What's the party's plan to fix what's going on or what's wrong or broken with downtown?
So we have to make your downtown attractive again. And we have to make sure that people, to your point, feel safe. And in the next few days, I will be presenting my plan for relaunching our downtown core. But of course, we have to make sure that we're addressing the issue of making it clean. Because sometimes when things are not clean, well, you don't feel safe because it doesn't look that somebody's taking care of it. So we have to make sure that both of those issues are linked together. And of course, the issue of homelessness. We have so many people on the streets. How can people feel safe if we can't even take care of our own people in the street with dignity? And what I've said in the past is that this administration has put more money in the gestion animalière, and I'm sorry I'm saying this in French, but we have to make sure that we're putting a lot of money into the security, into getting it clean, and into getting our people home and support and social psychological support that they need. And that's what I need that person should be. And I can't wait to come back to your radio show and talk to you about the projects and the way that we think we should be doing this. Okay,
you had an announcement. First of all, there was an announcement, I guess, a day or so ago about food trucks, which we didn't get a whole lot of detail about. Do you want to just tell us what that's about?
Well, as you know, our city in Montreal is a city of culture city, and we have a lot of experience on the cultural sector, and culinary is a part of our identity. And street food is a part of that. And, it's unfortunately that we can have food trucks everywhere in Montreal compared to major cities like Singapore, Mexico, and others, even Chicago. So there's a lot of a lack. There's only 5 boroughs in Montreal right now that allow food trucks. So what I've been saying is that we need to work with the food trucks, have a round table with all the partners and everybody to make sure that we're complementary to what's going on in the street, because we don't want merchants and restaurants to lose their business. We want to be complementary. So we have to make sure there's a spaces in every borough where street food can be a part of it, because it is a way also to develop our city in terms of cultural activities, economic activities. And I think, today food trucks are also a way to offer culinary experience to everybody in Montreal. I come from the east part of Montreal, and let me tell you, in my area, there's not a lot of good food, and street trucks today are more than hot dogs and hamburgers. It's more than that. And I think it's a way for us to come together. It's a way for us to, share our culture and share the city and the vibrant city that we are. And I think food is a part of that DNA.
Geez, I'd be happy just to see hot dogs and hamburgers on the street here, like every other major city. That'd be fine.
Yes, absolutely. And I
Okay.
think we have to find a way to do that because it's a part of who we are as a city and part of sharing our culture through the food. And I think, the bureaucracy shouldn't be a stop of a good
Okay.
table and good food.
Last question. We had Pierre Poilievre was on the station earlier today with Elias, and he talked about, housing. That was the big announcement from the Conservatives today on housing. You talk about housing as an issue that obviously Montrealers are concerned with. He has complained, and I'm sure other Montrealers have complained as well, about all the red tape, all the bureaucracy that's currently involved in trying to get housing built here. What would you do, or how would you change that?
So I have made a couple of announcements already, saying that the City of Montreal has to be a better partner in terms of a financial partner to the private sector and the nonprofit in order to resolve the issue of the housing crisis. In terms of bureaucracy, you're totally right. I mean, when you think about the mayor of the plateau, which is Luc Rabouin, he has one of the worst numbers in terms of delays to get a permit. If you want to have a permit to construct Plateau, where is the borough mayor for the last 6 years, has not delivered a permit really quickly in the way that we should be doing it. If you look at other cities in Canada, they've committed to give a permit even within 6 months. We need to get to a point where we're delivering permits faster in order to construct faster. And I think the city should be the one accountable for that. And that's what I want to do for every borough, and I committed to that. If I'm mayor of Montreal, I'm going to be mayor of Ville-Marie, the downtown core, and I can tell you for sure, Ville-Marie will be an example of how to deliver permits more quicker.
Will Ville-Marie, Craig Sauvé has come out and said Ville-Marie needs its own mayor. You support that idea?
Well, you know what? Right now, I think people are talking to me about housing, security, cleanness, being safe and being clean as a city. And I think those are the priorities. And of course, I mean, as you know, this is a decision that has to be made by Quebec.
Right.
But I think, I want to be sure that for now, I am the mayor and I will be the mayor of Ville-Marie. And I will work with the citizens in Quebec in terms of if that's what they want, we'll have to work on that. But right now, what the people in Ville-Marie want, they want a secure city. They want to feel safe. They want to be clean. The city has to be clean. And they want to address the issue of homelessness that is a real crisis in downtown and Ville-Marie right now.
Soraya Martinez Ferrada, Ensemble Montreal mayoral candidate. Soraya, always appreciate the time, and I hope we can talk again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Take good care.
Bye-bye.